you've got to just get people together and think about something they've done other than watch TV.
Yeah.
And then you can literally start creating, you can start activating their capacities and they can find out what other capacities
Yeah,
they have,
yeah.
you know? Sometimes you have to start really small, but it really worries me when people get, you know,
Right.
that you come home from work and you stare at a boob tube and then it's irritating to somebody. There's so much capacity there that's not being tapped into.
All right.
Yeah, that worries me a lot.
All right. And then do you think it's relevant to talk about the metaphor presented by D when we are addressing the capacity of our learners in our university? Because I think in Faculty of Education, we frequently see that those who like English, those who go to math department does not actually love math. So we tend to think that they don't have any assets in their learning capacity. Do you think that's relevant to address that metaphor of half empty glass and half full glass in this context?
What I was thinking of is that so much of the educational system is the detached observer and it's specialization.
Right.
And it's the assumption that the psyche is a blank slate. And we're
Right.
going to mold it to make
Yep.
it good. You know, wisdom versus knowledge.
Right.
And so honestly, everybody I know that goes on to get a PhD
Yeah.
completely loses contact with people, right?
Mm.
And they don't even use any of their other capacities other than this intellectual. So they forgot they
Right.
ever could even relate to people.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
It kind of
yes.
beats it out of you.
Yeah.
And then you don't get rewarded for it. You tend to get punished because you're supposed to be publishing. So it really requires.
Ibu silakan. Mas tolong ini.
Well, if whoever speaks English, I'll stay after and talk to
Okay.
anyone, you know.
Yes, Ibu please. Ibu dari mana?
Okay,
Siapa?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Philosophy of humanism. Okay. My questions on, maybe I need your idea, okay, talking about your research paper, talking about Islam, Pancasila, okay, and it's related to national education of Indonesia. Okay. I'm so absolutely agree on your research finding, okay, because Islam as the pillars we have interconnected to Pancasila and it's well implemented. But you see, what we have this principle, of course, we see the phenomenon right now, okay, it's sensed by our children, our future generations, but the real context, the real implementations on Pancasila is the real characters of our leader, okay, so right now. So what do you think? What is your opinion? I see the media, okay, they see the real leaders happens right now. Okay, one example. Okay, we see there is a good attitude too from our leadership, and sometimes okay, it makes sense of the big ones. Okay, like character or other sons. Okay, what should we do in our generation? Because you see from their media, oh, this is our nation. Okay, and I believe that not all Indonesians, all countries have their own principles. How could we are, as an educator, we are from our nation, part of this nation, to make their more understand about this principles. Okay, thank you, Professor Mata, for your more explanations about this.
Well,
okay, and I close by Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Salwa.
This helped. So I think that I really like the ABCD, but I was thinking that you'd make sure and organize it so every project has a faculty member that's Muslim and one that's not Muslim. And then you have students who are different religions, and especially you might have Chinese businessmen funding it a little bit and getting the logo. So they're literally observing interfaith And I just think the kids shouldn't be exposed to media, right? But also you just have to talk them out of it. Like, you need to have actual communities going on, and you can say, well, you know that people aren't like that, right? Because here they are. So you have to convince, just make sure that people actually are bonding with each other so they don't believe what's on there. And then there's also the problem of that a lot of politicians really don't believe what they say, but it's what gets votes, not because they want that to be true, but they do think their party will do a better job than the other party, right? And so you just have to explain that, because it is polarizing, right? It's terrible, but that's why you can't just sit and watch TV. You've got to actually community build, or you're going to be in deep trouble.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you like to hear a comment from D also, Bu Salwa? All right, thank you very much. So, any more questions? Bapak, Ibu? Yes, Bapak. Silakan, Pak.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
I'm Masrudin from IAIN Palopo, South Sulawesi. Now I'm working on tourism village as my community service.
Right.
So that my questions for both of the presenters.
Right.
The first one is about the engagement is, of course, related to and must be supported by the local government, especially the local government. So this is one of challenge for me as my experience, that sometimes the local governments do not really support something like what we plan to do in one place. So maybe from both of the presenter has their own experience in international community, university community engagement related to the involvement of an area to support the community from the university. And the second one is about the ABCD method in community service. What I have done so far, that I have already know that there are two kinds of high-hanging fruit and low-hanging fruits in ABCD. So I know that when we have a high-hanging fruit, it's a very long time to achieve the goals. For I want to listen from both of the presenters achieve to the goals of our high-hanging fruit. It needs collaboration from many. In university, we have so many knowledge, sciences, something like that. So we have to support each other. So what your opinion about this? I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. So, Professor Marta or D?
I think D should probably start.
Yeah, sure.
She has the most.
D, would you like to give your comments on the first question? The researchers, the researcher here, Nasruddin from IAIN Palopo, said that in doing his community building project. What's your comment on that? D?
So I think that there's similar answers for me, actually, but maybe just different context. So the one with local government, I understand your local government has more layers than mine, but it's still a very similar challenge. And, I've worked and applied ABC. There's some kind of bureaucrats or red tape or hierarchy something, red tape or lots of paperwork or things that are trying to, hold us back. Keep building relationships. There will be a tipping point. It is a really natural way of life, when we kind of focus or move towards something that or what we are aiming for, there will be something that will happen. So I would encourage you to build relationships. I think that's really key. Low-hanging fruit is, like I said before in that summary, remember to celebrate those small steps, because low-hanging fruit can happen really easy sometimes. So you keep moving on, but you forget to go, hey, wow, look how far we've come. We've actually taken 6 small steps. So it can become, I think in mobilizing assets, which, look, community, when we...
And radically individual, had a very high drug